The Higher View by Jennifer Brosser. The Story of Life. I have often wondered why I am here on this earth right now and what it is that I'm supposed to be doing with my time while in this physical body. I have been asking this question throughout my life because a feeling within keeps reminding me that things just don't seem right about how we all think we should live. Something much deeper is yet to be explored. I started to question what my purpose was here on this earth at a very young age. I always seemed to feel and think differently than others around me. I recall when I was about 5 years old, I went to bed and was awoken by a light floating at the edge of my bed. In this light, I could somehow sense an image of a sweet feminine energy that felt familiar to me. This energy did not speak aloud. However, I could feel that it was of love and comfort. This light energy only appeared for a few moments, and then I drifted off to sleep. The next morning, after my mother got everyone off to school, I told her what I saw and felt at my bedside the night before. My mother, being of great faith, believed me, and she wanted to show me something. My mother brought me to her room and pulled out an old photograph album with black and white images. She opened the photo album and slowly turned each page, while she explained that the photos I was viewing were of my ancestors long ago. As she turned the next page, I saw an image of a lady, and I was instantly drawn to it. I pointed right at the picture and asked my mom who that was, and my mother replied, smiled, and said, "That is your great-grandmother who passed away not long after you were born." I asked my mother why this lady would have appeared to me. My mother pulled out an old newspaper clipping she had saved. The headline read, "The Miracle Child." My heart felt bright inside, and I learned this article in this newspaper was about me. I was not expecting to see my birth story in the newspaper, but lo and behold, there it was. My mother went on to explain the story of my birth. She stated that she was very sick and in the ICU with major infections and poisons flowing through her body while she was pregnant with me. She was told at the hospital that either she was going to die or the unborn child would die or we both would die because the infection and toxins were too high. The doctors also explained to my mother that her unborn child was a boy that had major birth defects and would not make it full term. The doctors told her the only way to save her life was to abort the unborn deformed child and to allow them to do surgery to remove the kidney and gallbladder stones that were creating so much toxins within her body. However, my mother, even knowing her unborn son would be deformed, refused the surgery because that would have ended the pregnancy. She went on to say as she lay there in the ICU very ill, she had a feeling everything would be all right. Then my mother went on to explain that her blood pressure was declining fast and she was in big trouble. They rushed her into the medical room to try to save her life. They started to run some tests on her and put a heart monitor on her belly to check her unborn child's condition. The doctors stated that the unborn child was no longer alive because they did not find any movement or a heartbeat. My mother told them to get another doctor for a second opinion. Over 5 doctors came into the room and were checking on her vitals and proceeded to try to find the heartbeat of her unborn child. However, they all confirmed the unborn child had died in her womb. She recognized this presence as the feeling of her mother, which had already passed away. At that moment, she had a confirmation that everything was going to be okay. 10 minutes went by and my mother's vitals started improving. My mother asked the doctors one more time to check the heartbeat of her unborn child. With reluctance, the doctors checked once more to appease her, and to their astonishment, a heartbeat was heard. The doctors said it was nothing short of a true miracle. My mother regained her strength after a week, and she was released from the hospital and was told to take it easy as she carried on with her everyday life. A few months had passed, and my mother went into labor 2 weeks after her initial due date and was excited to meet her child for the first time. So on July 15th, 1975, I was born into this world, not as a boy with physical deformations, but as a perfectly healthy baby girl. Go figure. This was, and still is, one of the strangest birth stories I have ever heard, and it happened to be mine. After my mother told me of this story, she then proceeded to tell me why I saw this lady by my bed the night before. She went on to say that while I was in her belly and all the doctors confirmed that there was no heartbeat and proclaimed dead, that my spirit went outside of my body and my soul took a little trip to visit with my great-grandmother. My mother told me that my great-grandmother had written an account in her diary on the same date and time as when the doctors could not find a heartbeat. Her journal stated that a little girl's spirit had come into her room and was floating at the edge of her bed, observing her and communicating with her for a while, until the little girl said, "I will see you again, but for now, I need to go back because my mother is getting worried." Just then, the little girl's spirit vanished. Wow, okay, so I was born a miracle child, and it was in the newspapers, and then later published in a book? What the heck was going on here? This was real, and I had to face this fact as a very young child. So what now? Why was my life so important to have such a grand entrance into this world? This question has stayed with me my whole life. One thing I discovered is that each one of us are a miracle, and we all have something very important to do while we are here. We just can't seem to remember what exactly that something is. So I went on a search, hoping I might find out the answers. What I have come to realize for myself is every living thing that exists is alive and has a purpose. From the animals to plants, rocks, insects, and weeds, we are all connected through a vibrational field and frequency signature. That is to say that our frequency can and is altered from day to day, depending on our environment and experiences. We as humans seem to go about our lives not knowing what we are supposed to do. Life, as most of us knows it, goes something like this. You are born and then you learn to walk, talk, eat, and speak, and then you go to school and do chores. Then you get married, have kids, and work 8 hours a day to make money to care for your kids, then retire and die. No wonder why most of the population is depressed and live a fear-based reality. It is not our fault we believe this way. It is the only way we've been taught or programmed to believe. Understanding this was hard to swallow, but then I remembered that we are the creators of our lives, and we write another chapter in our life story daily. We get to choose what we want to experience and believe. That is the beauty of life. We are not trapped, nor do we have to follow what society has planned for us. This is your life experience, and you are free to do with it what you may. As I looked at my birth story and then everything I have experienced so far in my life, I began to direct my life in a way that will create that feeling of purpose for this existence. I decided to deliberately write my own story daily so that when I exit this life, it will be as profound as the day I came into it. We all have a story to tell. We all are still alive to tell the past tales. And now, what will you decide to experience and create tomorrow? What do you want your story to end like? Take time to think about this. Then move forward, be brave, be kind, loving, and have fun on your journey of life. Create your happily ever after story until the very end. The meaning of life is what you make it. Explore all you can. For life is but a short-lived dream. Free yourself from the daily mundane routine of your current life with wisdom and balance, and you will finally learn to know what it is like to live with deliberate creation. For this is our birthright. This book, if you read it to the end, will help you remember your purpose for being alive during these times. It is time once and for all to claim you are more than you were brought up to believe.